we're not that far from September. And we know what happens in September. The teams start to gather and make their push. I'm thinking of a particular team, Bruce, that I'm especially excited about because we got to interview Macklin Celebrini about 14 times and Will Smith. How about the Sharks, who made a lot of moves and certainly last year was tough, but they seem to be on a good trajectory? What do you think?
Well, I really believe they got some NHL players now. Now, Celebrini and Will Smith are going to take a little bit of time. You know, if you're looking at maybe your number 2 and 3 centermen behind Logan Couture, hopefully who's healthy this year. But I mean, at the same time, they've added NHL players, and they didn't have NHL players last year. So I'm thinking if I'm a San Jose Shark, I've got a little chip on my shoulder this year. I'm not going to start out 0-12. I'm going to go out there and we're going to show them that we're an awful lot better. Like, I mean, when you get the Tyler Toffoli's and Alex Wenbergs, Barclay Goodrow's, Jake Wellman, these guys are NHL players.
Yes, they are.
So you add those with good young players. I think they're going to be an awful lot tougher to beat this year in the Pacific Division.
It's fascinating to watch these guys who come up, Will Smith and Celebrini. They have geared up for this their whole lives, and they are so hungry and determined, and they want to stick with the big club, starting with Celebrini, youngest to win the Hobey. And I joked about interviewing him so many times. The thing you come away from when you talk with him is how mature he is at his age. How does that benefit him?
Well, I mean, if you can handle it, because there's going to be some times where things aren't going to be going as well for him as you would think.
And gone the rest of his life.
His whole first 17 years of his life. Every time he stepped on the ice, he was the star. So now all of a sudden, you're going to be going against men and really good players in their own right, obviously. So, I mean, he's got to be able to withstand the frustrations a little bit and understand it. But and I don't know him at all. But if he's the person I think he is, then he's going to push himself to in every situation. Oh, yeah, I'll show you. He's not going to be, oh, well, I expect it. He's going to be wanting to get better on every shift. And, I mean, those are the kind of guys you want to see.
He's wired right. Absolutely. So from a coach's perspective, when you get to these months, August, then September, what's it like for a coach in August, say?
Well, you know, August is like the month for like everybody else that's in hockey. It's probably the month you take off.
Really?
I mean, but at the same time, like the way we used to go about it, we'd go the first when training camps were starting on the 21st and the 22nd, we would go like as soon as September, would come along. I'd have all the coaches meet. That's when we would start, and for 3 weeks straight, we'd be in the office going over training camp, going over the kind of camp we wanted to have, the teams we wanted to make the teams for training camp, even all of these things. And in August, what I would do, I would spend my time on the phone talking to players, making sure they're ready.
Really?
Yeah, I would want the assistant coaches, like we'd give them sometimes like a little job. Okay, listen, if you're the penalty killing coach, let's make sure you're prepared when you come in. You're the power play coach. How do we want to
video clips?
Video clips and everything else, and then we go over them all, see if they're the right ones that we want to fit into the system and everything. But that was pretty well it for them. So they would take that month hopefully off to re-energize, because once September starts and you're in there 10, 12 hours every day, because there's really no off days for coaches. I used to say all the time, it's an off day for a player, but we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, there's just no off days. July is a little different in that every time after the July 4th weekend, I'd send out a letter to all the players and give them an outline of what my skate test on the first day is going to be like. Because I really wanted, and I did this, it's a funny story actually, Tony. It's when we used to have to, in the 80s and the 70s, they'd want you to run, 5 miles in
a certain
35 minutes, or ride a bike. And I remember my camp in Chicago, I trained. So you might not look at me today and know that I trained hard, but I ran every stinking day.
Okay.
And I wanted to make the Blackhawks so bad. I was 30 years old, and I was a good runner and all of those things. And we ran it, and I got shin splints so bad. I missed the first 4 days. I missed the first 3 days of camp camp. On the 4th day, they cut me. So I said, I vowed, if I'm ever going to be a coach and I want guys to train, I want them to train on the ice, because this is where it's going to be. This is the skating.
Yes.
Get in shape skating-wise. I mean, obviously they run and they bike and they do all the other things, but I certainly didn't want just to leave it up to, like, we used to start scrimmages in August back in the day, and that was it. But I wanted them to be ready in game 1 to be in as good a shape as they could be.